Blade Trinity won't go down as the worst superhero movie ever made, but it's definitely the most disappointing superhero movie ever made. After the success of the first two Blade movies, which were fantastic in their own right, David S. Goyer comes back to write and direct the final installment into the Blade series, and this movie is a complete letdown. It had an interesting premise, which is what if Blade took on the king of the vampires himself, Dracula? And instead of having fun with that kind of premise, this movie does something completely different, and it's just not a good movie from a story standpoint. It's really, really weak. The acting in this movie can be borderline cringy. It has a couple of okay moments here and there, but overall, Blade Trinity is a complete letdown. So let's just kick off with this. Wesley Snipes returned in the title role, and he is giving the definition of a phoned-in performance. You can tell this man does not want to be in this movie. He has no energy. He has no passion. Whatever energy and passion he had for the first two Blade movies, it's gone with this movie. And a lot of that has to do with the backstage troubles this movie had and the conflict of interest between Snipes and David S. Goyer over the direction of the story. And it clearly shows in the portrayal of Blade. He has a couple of cool moments here and there, but overall, it's a complete Wesley Snipes to me. You can tell he doesn't give a shit, and it shows in his performance. This movie once again kills off the character of Whistler after Blade went all the trouble in the second movie to bring his friend back. This movie kills him off again. I don't like it. I hate it. The best elements of both Blade movies is the father-son relationship between Blade and Whistler. Why do you have to kill Whistler for? It doesn't accomplish anything. It just, you're taking away the most interesting part of the whole Blade saga is the relationship with Whistler. Now Whistler is dead, and in his place are Hannibal King and his illegitimate daughter Abigail Whistler, played by Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel respectively. And how do you make Ryan Reynolds not funny? Watch Blade Trinity. When I was a kid, I thought he was funny. Watching it as an adult, his humor is borderline on cringe. On cringe. I understand that people will say, oh, this is precursor to Daredevil. Well, listen, I've seen Ryan Reynolds in better movies where he's legitimately funny. In this movie, he is not funny at all. He is horrible. And it's not Ryan Reynolds' fault. He's doing the best with the garbage he has to work with. Jessica Biel, she's just a blank slate of nothing. She has no emotional depth whatsoever. She's the daughter of Whistler. Blade is like Whistler's son. Not once do Abigail and Blade have a conversation about their father at all. It's just nothing. The relationship that Blade has with Abigail and Hannibal King is completely and utter worthless. It does absolutely nothing. They're just there for Blade to yell at somebody, and that's about it. The villains in this movie, don't get me started. The villains in this movie are garbage. So, you have Dracula, who in this movie is called Drake. He is the king of the vampires, and with all due respect to Dominic Purcell, he has no commanding on-screen presence as the Lord of the Vampires. Not only that, the character of Drake is so just poorly written, he doesn't even come across as a threat. And a lot of that has to do with the humor that this movie tries to shove in your throat. The first two Blade movies had humorous moments to them, but it never undercut the tone out of those movies. The humor was always subtle and character-based. This movie is just humor thrown at you like a spaz, and it's just going to a wall and seeing what sticks. Majority of the jokes in this movie don't stick. This movie also tries to be self-referential with itself, which I thought was really awkward, because the other two movies weren't really all that self-referential. This movie tried to be really self-referential, and it almost came across as self-parody, which I thought was completely and utterly stupid. I hated it so much. And that's all I got to say for the villains. Drake has some underling villains. One's played by Triple H, but they do absolutely nothing. They mean absolutely nothing to the plot. One of them had a relationship with Hannibal King and doesn't really mean much because I just don't care. Not only that, the Night Stalkers, who are the good guys in this movie, they're just disposable because they all die with the exception of Hannibal and Abigail. No, this movie should have been about Blade struggling against Drake and Blade reluctantly having to join forces with the Night Stalkers to take on Drake. Instead, this movie doesn't do anything remotely like that. David S. Goyer, He's a good writer, but this movie shows his weaknesses as a writer, and it's horrible. As a filmmaker, this movie is okay shot. It's nothing groundbreaking. You got a couple of cool visual cues here and there. The opening fight scene is entertaining, and you have a couple of okay scenes peppered in out all throughout. Particularly this one scene where Blade's taking down, fighting a bunch of cops. It's slightly entertaining, and you do got this cool, gruesome scene of Blade and the Night Stalkers walking through this blood form, which is actually kind of creepy. But other than that, this movie doesn't really have anything to offer. It's a weak entry into the Blade saga, and it's a damn shame that this is the final movie to feature Wesley Snipes as Blade. He deserved to go out on a better note. He deserved to go out on a triumphant note, not this sour, down note with a very confusing ending that you don't even know what to make of it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Blade Trinity. I'm gonna give it a solid 2 out of 10. A couple of visual cues are okay. This movie is not horribly made. It's okay. You can watch it and not be offended by it, but it's a complete antithesis of the first 2 Blade movies, and it sticks out like a sore thumb because tonally, it's almost unrelated to the other 2 movies, and that's a damn shame. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.